Trudy sitting in for Aaron. You've probably heard in the news that Air Canada's 10,000 flight attendants have given their union a strike mandate. They voted overwhelmingly in favor of a strike if needed to push their contract demands. The vote ran 99.7% in favor of a strike if necessary. So that vote means they could be in a strike position in not too long, August 16th, provided they give 72 hours notice. Now, Air Canada is trying to calm the waters a bit, saying it's premature to speculate or discuss possible contingencies, in the event of a strike. And it also says it firmly believes that there is more than enough time to reach an agreement and avoid disrupting the plans of hundreds of thousands of travelers. Joining us first is Jennifer Weatherhead. She is a travel expert with travelandstyle.ca and Next Destination. Hi, Jennifer. Thanks for joining us.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
If you were someone looking at a late summer vacation at this point, do you think now it is worth it to pay extra for a refundable booking?
I would start making a backup plan if I had a vacation booked or if I was looking to book something. So if you haven't booked anything yet, you are looking to book a flight with Air Canada. My advice, this is my advice all the time, don't book the cheapest ticket, the one that is not refundable, because it really limits you so much. Try to book something that you can have a refund with. It's really important at any time of the year, but especially now when these kinds of things are out of your control. It gives you more flexibility. It gives you more options. But I would also say, if you do have a flight already booked, let's say it's not refundable or you have all these other issues that are kind of happening, have a backup plan. Start planning that out now. Start looking at other flight options that you might be able to do that are refundable so you can cancel it if the strike doesn't happen. Car rental, same idea. Hotel, same idea. But best practice for any trip, anytime, is try to book something that's refundable. I know those low fares are really enticing, but you might end up in a situation like this.
Yeah, the price differential, I'm sure, is a hurdle that a lot of passengers don't want to have to jump. But what you're saying is they should, at this point, knowing that it is a possibility, a strike, is book a completely parallel set of reservations that are refundable. So your hotel and your car and your airfare on another airline.
That's what I would do if you have the means to do this. Book something that is refundable so that way if the strike doesn't happen, you can cancel it. Nothing is lost that way. But it puts sort of that security blanket down for you so you know that if something does happen and your Air Canada flight somehow gets canceled or messed up or delayed and you absolutely have to get from point A to point B, you have that backup plan. I always kind of feel that if you put all of these backup plans into place, most of the time you don't need them, right? It's kind of that weird Murphy's Law situation. So it will help reduce your stress and can make things a lot easier for you if something does go wrong.
Jennifer Weatherhead, thanks very much for talking to us on CJAD. Jennifer Weatherhead is a travel expert with travelandstyle.ca and Next Destination. Talking now to a familiar voice here on CJ 8800. We've spoken to him a number of times because he's kind of like Canada's premier air passenger rights advocate. Gabor Lukacs, thanks for joining us on Montreal Now.
Good afternoon. It's great to be with you.
Hi. We're looking at this possibility. Air Canada is saying it's premature to speculate, to discuss what's going to happen. But do you concur with Jennifer that passengers should be on the defensive at this time?
I believe that it's good to have ideas for what you do as a contingency, but right now, I would actually book a refundable ticket on a different airline only if it is something where arriving on time is mission critical, like a medical procedure or like a court hearing. For anything else, you have to remember that if there is a flight cancellation, then the airline, Air Canada, will have to provide alternate transportation. And that includes buying your ticket on a competitor if that must be the case. They cannot simply tell you we'll transport you a week from now. If the workers walk off the job, the Air Canada either can get you a flight on its own network that departs within 48 hours of the original departure time, or partner airline, or they actually have to go out and buy you a ticket on any carrier, and that means WestJet, Porter, whichever airline still operates, they have to get you that seat. If they don't do it, you can go out and buy the ticket then and send a bill to Air Canada and make them pay.
We have seen in the past when airlines have been expecting labor disruptions, they start preemptively canceling flights. Maybe to avoid what you're talking about, to avoid the obligation that they have to reschedule all these people, not only the hassle and the administrative burden, but the cost if they have to put them on to other airlines. What are a passenger's rights if their flight is canceled, not because of a strike, but because Air Canada is worried about a strike?
Air Canada cannot evade its obligations by preemptively canceling flights. On the contrary, you would have far more obligations in the event of a preemptive cancellation, because that is something entirely within Air Canada's control. So that is no different than canceling it for any other business reason. They not only have to provide alternate transportation to the passenger in that case, but also meals and accommodation and up to $1,000 in cash compensation. So I would hope that they won't do too much of that, because it's going to be very costly to Air Canada. One more thing to remember is that if your flight is canceled after the workers walk off the job, so there's already ongoing strike, if you travel internationally, you may still be able to successfully obtain reimbursement for your meal and accommodation expense and lost wages from Air Canada under the Montreal Convention, which is an international treaty that has a force of law in Canada. And we have seen cases where it was deemed to be outside a carrier's control under the APPR, but still the airline was ordered to pay reimbursement of such expenses under the Montreal Convention.
Are the rules any different for people who have purchased vacation packages through, for example, Air Canada Vacations, where the airfare and the hotel and the transfer from the airport to the hotel and back, that's all rolled into one price?
No, a passenger is a passenger. The obligation to comply with these obligations is on the carrier operating the flight.
So those passengers, too, can be assured that Air Canada really is supposed to get them to their vacation.
Yes.
So heading into this, it sounds as though there might be some uproar. There might be some departure scheduling changes and so on. But travelers, can we draw the conclusion that even if the flight attendants do decide to walk out, that most travelers will get where they're going within a reasonable amount of time? Is that a reasonable conclusion given these obligations?
I'm not sure to what extent Air Canada is going to obey or disobey the law. That's more a question of enforcement. And unfortunately, we have a government that has a dismal record in enforcing passengers' rights. But what I can tell you is that if the airline is not delivering on these obligations and then you decide to buy yourself a ticket, then a judge is going to order Air Canada to pay for the cost of that ticket that Air Canada was supposed to get you and they failed to provide.
Does Air Canada have any legal grounds to argue, for example, that the threat of a possible walkout by the flight attendants hurt reservations so badly and generated a whole bunch of cancellations that the flight is no longer economically viable?
That may well be the case, but that's a business decision and that is something within their control. Canceling a flight because not economically viable is something within the carrier's control. It's a business decision, it's an economic decision. They do it all the time, and they have to compensate passengers accordingly.
We always seem to have so many questions when there is a threat of any type of a disruption to air travel. Are you expecting a bumpy few weeks, Gabor?
Yes, we are already seeing some questions in our Facebook group, and that's why we put out also information on our airpassengerrights.ca website for passengers to read exactly about this kind of situations. Perhaps the most important information is not to just make changes to your travel because the airline suggests that you do it. Wait until they cancel your flight. And if they do so, do not accept a refund unless you really want to stay at home. Accepting a refund could be used by the airline as a way of arguing that they no longer owe you alternate transportation. So if they refuse to rebook you on a competitor airline while they owe you that, make sure you record a phone conversation and tell the airline employee, I will be getting a ticket on a different airline. I am not accepting a refund, and I will be sending you Air Canada bill, and you will have to pay for it. Have a nice day. So always make sure that you are clear in your communications. You create a record that will be used possibly in court, that you insisted on your right, that Air Canada comply with the law, and they failed to comply with the law, and that's why you incur the expense.
Gabor Lukacs, excellent advice. Thank you very much, as always, for joining us on CJAD.
Thank you very much for having me.
Gabor Lukacs, Canadian air passenger rights advocate. So there you have it. Don't accept a refund if Air Canada calls and says, you know what, your flight is being canceled. Don't accept the refund. Record the call and say, no, I want to travel, and it's your obligation to get me where I want to go. I had that ticket. There you go. The advice from an expert.